Hi, welcome to episode 384 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Twitter and Instagram. I blog over at the corner of knitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where you can find my handspun yarns and knitting patterns. And currently we are in the middle of Tour de Fleece. We have a team. There is a Corner of Knit and Tea group on Ravelry and a Tour de Fleece thread there. You can also participate on Facebook with Team CKT. And you can also participate on Instagram if you want to tag your photos with hashtag Team CKT 2022. So hi, how are you? It is Monday, July 11th. I am feeling loads better even than last week when I came to you. I still sound a little bit congested, and I know that my sinuses are still a little off because each morning I wake up a little bit congested. And then the other thing that happened is I finally started exercising again on yesterday. And when I got on the treadmill to do a little bit of jogging, jogging made my teeth hurt, which usually means, and it was my teeth kind of all over, which usually means my sinus cavity is a little clogged up. So I still have a few lasting effects, but I am feeling much, much better. I am not as tired, and so I have been crafting quite a bit this week. Most of my attention has been on spinning, so I don't have a ton to show you for knitting, but I have been making a little bit of progress. I hope that you are doing well. We actually had a lovely weekend. The weather here gave us a bit of a break. This time of year, it's usually in the 90s and 100 degrees Fahrenheit here, just outside of Kansas City in the Midwestern United States. And this weekend it was actually in the 80s and there was a really nice breeze, and so we got out and walked around outside, and we went and grabbed ice cream afterwards. And it was actually a really good, nice weekend. And given all the hustle and bustle of my pre-travel and travel and then coming home and not feeling that great, it was really nice to enjoy a weekend. So I hope you are doing well wherever you are in the world, that you are managing to stay healthy, and that you are enjoying some of your crafting time. So let's get into the podcast. Today I am drinking one of the teas that I love. This is from Mighty Leaf and it's called Pear Caramel. I bought it several years ago, so I don't know if they still have it. If they do, I will put it in the show notes. I will link to it. This is, I know that Mighty Leaf does a lot of tea bags, but they also do some loose leaf teas. And so I got that from them a while ago. I think I put a little bit too much in the filter today, so I'm expecting that my tea is going to be pretty strong. I am drinking it in a lovely pottery mug that I got from Always Azul Pottery. And they come and they always have a huge booth at our local Renaissance Festival. And so Wes and I have gone a few times, and one year I decided I needed a mug. And I was super excited to read on the bottom today when I was looking at who made it again. I was super excited to read that it was a microwave and dishwasher safe. So that was very exciting. So I can use it in both now. But that is my Pear Caramel tea. And that's a little bit of black tea with a little tart pear and a little sweet caramel, and they kind of balance each other out. It's actually a great fall tea, but when I was flipping it, and it's not fall here, it's not even that cool here this week. It's back up into the 90s and hundreds, but we have the air conditioning going in the house to keep it we have to run it so that it doesn't get quite so humid in the house. And so I put on a sport weight knit sweater, and now I'm enjoying my tea. So let's talk about the knits for this week. I have two projects in progress. I have one finished object to show you. This is the toe cowl. And I think that's the way it's pronounced. I'm not 100% sure. It is spelled T and O with an accent. It is designed by Jennifer Berg, who is the native knitter. And it is toe means water. And she is indigenous to the United States. And so her pattern sort of celebrates some of her tribal imagery, and the cowl is all about water and includes clouds and raindrops, and I showed you a little bit of this last week. So here is the finished blocked, upside down. The finished blocked cowl. Again, this is the toe cowl. It is knit in 2 skeins of worsted weight. I knit mine in Zen Yarn Gardens because this is a sample for them. This will be a kit later this fall. The white is their super fine merino in worsted, and that is 100% merino, and it is absolutely delightful. The contrast color is their nightshade worsted, which is also super fine merino, and one of the strands in the merino is dyed black, so it gives you kind of a barber pole textured. I don't know that you'll be able to see it that much in the when you're not in person, and actually even in person it kind of not washes out, but it kind of blends in. It means that it gives it kind of a mottled, darker appearance. The colorway is, let me think about this. I think it's Harvest Maple? Autumn Maple. It's Autumn Maple, and it is a dark red colorway that they dyed specifically for this kit, and we used it for another pattern as well, a tee that I knit earlier this year. Anyway, so this is the finished cowl. It is pretty simple color work. There are some long floats in there on some of the rows, so it does help if you know how to catch your floats, but this was kind of a fun little pattern, and it worked up pretty quickly. It used less than a skein of each. And the pattern is actually part of a set. A second designer paired with Jennifer Berg to design a tam that has the rain cloud motif and some similar and worked up in the same 2 colors. So that actually is my project for this week. Hopefully I'll have that to show you next week, and I will bring her name because I am less familiar with her, but I will bring her name and her Instagram handle and whatnot, and there will be a link to everyone in the show notes. And so that is what I'm going to work on for this week, finishing the hat that goes with the cowl, and then I'll be able to send the set off to the photographer. And like I said, those kits will be coming this fall. So that was kind of a nice bit of work. Obviously, worsted weight cowls and hats are not the perfect summer knitting, but they are on my timeline for creating fall kits. So and they worked up quickly, and they're fairly small. So that's nice. So I will start again this week on the matching hat, and then I will show you that hopefully next week, and it will be done. So the second project I have made progress on this week is Roxy's Cinnamon Sweater. The pattern is Cinnamon by Elena Nodell, and I have been working on this on and off throughout the last few months, and I have finished the second sleeve. So that was my big goal since I talked to you last, and I worked on it at Knit Night both on Wednesday and on Sunday, and I managed to finish the second sleeve. Cinnamon is it is kind of a long coat. It is designed for girls, and I am knitting the size, I believe, 8 to 10, or maybe I'm knitting the 10. My niece Roxy will be 9 this fall, and so this is for her. It is kind of a long A-line coat, and it's got a big ribbed collar, and then it's got kind of a all-over ribbed design. And in the original sweater, it called for short sleeves, but I actually went ahead and made full sleeves because my niece lives in Chicago, and a short sleeve sweater is going to do her no good. So I knit the sweater a bit out of order because I was concerned that I might not have enough yarn for the sleeves and to do the long body. As it turns out, I am going to be more than fine. But what I did was I knit the body through, I got 4 balls of yarn, and the yarn that I am using is Dream in Color Classy, which is their worsted weight yarn. It is 250 yards per skein, so I got 4 skeins for a total of 1,000 yards, which I was positive was going to be enough, but according to the pattern, it might not have been. The pattern called for 950 yards with the short sleeves, and I was concerned that an extra 50 yards was not going to give me the rest of my sleeves, but I needn't have worried. I'm doing just fine on yardage. The colorway that I am knitting in is called Rosy, which is a really great kind of pink with some oranges in it. I don't think of it so much as coral, but it definitely has a few of those tones in it. And so this is one of the 2 cakes that I have left. The way I worked on this is I'm alternating skeins because, of course, Dream in Color is kettle dyed, and so I wanted to be sure that if one skein was a little bit different from the rest, that it would not show. So what happened is it's a top-down raglan sweater. And so I started with the first 2 balls, and when I got to the very end of the first 2 balls, I went ahead and went back and did the collar and the sleeves before I finished the body, so that if I need to omit the pockets or take out an inch or 2 at the bottom, I would be able to do that, and so that I wouldn't run out of yarn when I was knitting the sleeves at the end. So the key difference this week in this cute little sweater, like I said, it is a cardigan. It's got a big, really cool kind of ribbed neckline that can kind of stand up or lay down. It's a little floppy right now, but I think once I wash it and block it and kind of finish putting the sweater together with the buttons and everything, I think it will be great. And the key point is that I now have 1 and 2 sleeves. So my sleeves are done, and I actually picked back up on the body last night and knit. I had maybe 2 rows left on each of the skeins that were previously attached to the body. And so I finished those, and it is time to add in the remainder of my last 2 skeins. And I think I am almost done. I am almost to the part on the body where I add the pockets, and I'm going to do some afterthought pockets. So I'm going to, put some stitches aside and cast on again and finish the pockets, and then I will go ahead and put afterthought pockets in afterwards. I think the pattern calls mostly for patch pockets, although it does call for you to put some stitches on hold. I think it calls for you to kind of knit the pocket on the front and sew it down. I don't really know. I'm gonna probably do afterthought pockets where I knit the pocket on the back. Basically, the difference is that if you knit like a patch pocket where you're going to knit back up, you'll have to attach it on the front. You'll have to sew down the sides on the front, and I find that that tends to give me some holes that kind of poke through on the front, and I don't enjoy that look that much. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit the front of the pocket contiguous with the rest of the sweater and just leave the open hole, and then I will knit the patch kind of on the back side. And actually, if I get my you-know-what together, I will knit the pockets so that I can close the bottom of the pockets as I do the hem. So basically, I'll knit the patch that goes on the back before I finish the final hem, and when I do the final hem, I will close the front of the pocket to the back of the pocket, basically by knitting 1 stitch from the front needle and 1 stitch from the back needle together, and that will be a much stronger seam down there than it will be if I just whip stitch it or mattress stitch it down at the bottom. So that is kind of why I decided to do it that way, because I thought it would really I guess the other way you kind of pick up and knit from the bottom, so I guess it's not that different, but I decided to go ahead and do it that way, and so that's probably how I will do it, and I should have no problem with my yardage, so I am very, very excited to get that going. I don't know if I'll finish it this week. I would love to, but I just don't know if it will happen because, as I said, I'm spending a lot of time on Tour de Fleece, and I'll be talking about that in just a minute, but this is definitely on the slate for finishing this month. If I finish the hat and this sweater, then I will probably go back to my oyster cardigan, which is the Rowan cardigan that I'm knitting for myself. I still don't know if I'll finish that one this month, but I still have approximately 2/3 of the month left. And so I should have enough time to work on a few more things before I start August and a whole new bevy of projects. I'm also working on a chicken for the City Girl Farm, and so I have lots of knitting going on, even though I am trying to spend lots of time spinning, and that has kind of been my favored activity for right now. So I will take a sip of tea and then let's go into spinning, and I've got a few different things to show you there. So the Tour de Fleece is happening. For those of you who are new, the Tour de Fleece is a spinning event that coincides with the Tour de France, the big bike race in France that occurs every summer. The Tour de France runs for approximately 3 weeks, as does the Tour de Fleece. We start when they start, we finish when they finish, and the goal for Tour de Fleece is really just what you make of it. A lot of people have a goal to just spin every day. My goal is usually to finish a pound or 2 of fiber. I love watching the bike race, and if the bike race is on, my spinning wheel is on. So, or my feet are treadling. I spend time working on both my treadle wheel and on my electric spinning wheel, which is a Hanson mini spinner. And I love to, like I said, watch the coverage of the race. We watch for several hours each evening, and then I go ahead and spin along with it. The tour takes a couple rest days. Actually, today is one of the rest days. Some days I go along with that, some days I ignore that, and then I sometimes take my rest days on Wednesday because that's knit night, but it just sort of depends. Anyway, I spend a lot of time at my wheel, and it is one of my favorite activities of summer. It's just one of those special things where I do knit, and particularly now that I sample knit, I do end up working on a lot of things, but for the most part, so usually when I divide my evenings, if I'm going to divide my evenings, I spend an hour spinning and several hours knitting, and I kind of flip that over the summer where I spend several hours spinning every day, and then I spend an hour or two knitting in the evening. So my knitting progress is not as much during the month of July, but that's okay with me. So last week, I think I showed you my first finished spin, which wasn't an official Tour de Fleece spin, because at that point we were only a couple days into the tour, but it was the first thing that I finished. It was Hello Yarn Rambouillet in all bark and no bite. I have not put that in the shop up yet, but I think I'm going to take photos today and get final measurements, and then that will go up into the shop. The second skein that I finished, which is the first official Tour de Fleece skein, since it is the first official skein that I spun entirely during the tour, is a really fun braid from Knitty and Color. She does not name her braids. This is in Tarhi, which is absolutely super soft and scrunchy and squishy and amazing, and this is a skein in a colorway that had all the colors. And I was calling it Flower Power, and then someone told me it looked like Pride to them. It was basically a rainbow of colors. I will say it doesn't have reds so much. It's very much pinks and oranges and yellows and greens and blues and purples, and some of them are almost a little neon. I love that about Knitty and Color. She uses some really bright colorways. So as you can see, I've got this orange one here that's kind of neon, and this green one here that's kind of neon, and overall the skein kind of reads towards the greens and blues. I think that was a little bit more in the background, but there are pops of kind of all the colors. So this is just a fun rainbow skein. It is super squishy. It is probably over 400 yards long. I need to do the final math because I haven't done the final measurement, but I spun this one thin. This is definitely a fingering to maybe light sport weight. It is not superwash, but it would be amazing for socks, or it would really make a wonderful shawl or other accessories. It's just super fun. I don't think the camera is doing it justice here. I will try and get some better photos for the shop, and that one should also be up in the shop as well. I think I'm going to try and get them into the shop tonight, so they will be there before you see this video. So next I moved on to a really fun spinning project. Last week I showed you a 1 pound bag of, it's called a patchwork kit from Hello Yarn, and I'm going to take out some of these colors because I want you to see these in all their glory. Patchwork kits are Adrian's way of sort of disposing of some extras of fiber from fibers that she has dyed. So these are bits and bobs that are kind of from the end of her dye runs. They can be for club colorways, they can be test runs for club colorways, they can be for shop update fibers, they could be a little bit of everything. They are always beautifully dyed, and many times she tries to sort of color theme. So this one actually is not the best in the color theme. Most of the colorways in this package have been sort of glowing oranges and yellows and pinks and browns and just kind of warm colors, but there are little bits of other things in here. There is some orange and brown in here, but this one has purples and greens. Here you see we've got more oranges and pinks, and then there's also some purples in here, but again, more oranges and reds. And so overall, the look is just very kind of glowy and colorful. And I am spinning this to knit myself a chicken from the City Girl Farm. I learned that as you are a member there, and if you are contributing on a regular basis, you get to design your own chicken. And so my first chicken is going to be what we call the Royal line, which is chickens that have pinstripe chicken feathers, and I have knit several of them for them, so I'm excited to knit my own now. So what I wanted to show you is I actually spun up 2 very full bobbins It's interesting. The fiber pack that I got from Hello Yarn was a pound, and so technically I could have spun it. Technically I could have put 8 ounces on each of the bobbins, because these are the bobbins for my mini spinner, and they do hold 8 ounces. But actually what I did is I was a little concerned that I'd be a little short on yardage, because I'm spinning at a worsted weight, and I wanted to be sure that I have a lot of the chickens that I knit are at a bulky weight. And so I wanted to be, and I don't spin at a bulky weight that well, so I'm really aiming for like a DK to worsted, and even that is, I'm not very good at spinning to spec. So, but I feel like I'm actually probably going to knit, I'm going to hit DK to worsted, on these skeins. Anyway, I was a little concerned I was going to run short on yardage, so I found one other braid in my stash. It was called Sour. It was from a fiber update at some point, and it was glorious pinks and reds and oranges and yellows, and it fit in perfectly with all the other colors. So this week I have spun 2 bobbins. My guess is these have approximately 6 ounces of fiber on them a piece, at least 5, probably not more than 6. And it is plying time. So tonight I'm going to ply these babies, and these are both on Acreworks bobbins, which are lovely. They are 3D printed bobbins that also can flat pack. You can pull off the ends and pack them flat, so you don't have to, because bobbins are hard to pack when they're this size. When they're this size and dimension, and you have to kind of pack around them. Anyway, so this is what I'm working on for today. I probably theoretically only have enough left for like 1 more bobbin, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sure that I divide it onto 2 so that I can ply equally, and then we will see how much yardage I get. My guess is that I will be finishing this project by the next time I talk to you, which will be in the 3rd week of the tour, but not quite finished yet, because we don't finish until Sunday the 24th. So I still have, roughly half the tour to go. We started on the 1st, we're finishing on the 24th. There were technically 3 rest days this time, so it's a little bit longer than usual. Usually it's only 21 or 22 days. We have a few extras this year, and I am using that to my advantage. So I do have a couple other braids pulled aside that will be for the shop, but I wanted to get this project done so that I can start knitting my chicken feathers on the side, and I will be sharing those with you as I go through the process. Once I finish plying and washing these up, then I will probably knit up a sample, maybe this month, to see how it looks, and I will share that with you once I have done that. So that is, this is probably another 12 ounces of fiber at least that I spun up this week, and I'll be playing this evening. And then I will spin up the final 2 bobbins through the rest of this week and ply that hopefully in the next few days. And then I will be on to something completely different. So lots of spinning progress, lots of spinning time, and hopefully I will have that to share with you again soon. So that is all I have for the week. I should say, it is never too late to join the Tour de Fleece team, Team CKT. I have very few rules on my, in my group. There technically aren't any rules. You just, okay. You have to spin. Unfortunately, this is an event open only to spinners, but you can spin using a drop spindle or a charka or a wheel or however you would like to create hand-spun fiber. You need to spin, and if you want to be considered for prizes, you need to go ahead and let me know that you are spinning on our team. During the 3 weeks of the tour, I will draw randomly for prizes. I use random number generator to draw from people that post and share photos, and I kind of run those including everything from the Ravelry thread, the Facebook group, and Instagram. And then at the very end of the tour, I do kind of a grand prize draw. I give you a day or 2 at the end of the tour to round up all your spins, finish them, wash them, whatever. Take a photo of everything you spun during the tour. I do start a Ravelry thread for that, but I can also accept entries on Instagram and Facebook. Every person gets 1 entry into that prize draw, and I'm going to draw 2 prizes at the end for the grand prize draw. And we'll be sending 2 lucky winners something fibery. Everything that I send is from my collection, and they are beautiful fibers that I hope that you will enjoy spinning. So if you would like to participate, like I said, join us in the Ravelry group. You can join our Facebook group, or you can post on Instagram with the hashtag TeamCKT2022. I have given out the first couple prizes, but there will be more as the next 2 weeks go along. And the prizes are honestly just fun. The whole point of Tour de Fleece is to spin and enjoy spinning, and if you enjoy the bike race, then follow along. So, I hope you have a lovely week ahead, and until I see you again, I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!